The Honourable Minister of State for Western Economic Diversification. I'll let the Honourable Minister know there are about 3 minutes remaining in the time for government orders today, but she can get started, and the remaining time, of course, will be available when the House next resumes debate on the question. The Honourable Minister of State.
Understood, Mr. Speaker. Is there a clear case to be made for Canada's role in seeking to contain the expansion of ISIL? I have not known persecution or war, and as a Canadian of recent generation, I have only known tolerance of diversity, freedom of discourse, and the promise of opportunity. When we look within our borders, we seek to enshrine these principles in our policy. We strive to root out barriers to economic prosperity, to freedom of speech, and to safety of person and to equality. Regardless of political stripe in Canada, we seek to better the human condition within our borders because we know that our prosperity and evolution as a nation hinges on our capacity to enshrine our nation's collective sense of humanity in our foundational policy and thinking, indeed within its culture. My generation is so fortunate because as a nation we have stood against, in combat, forces which espouse the antithesis of these principles and have sought to impose their way of thinking on the world. In this context, the motion in front of us seizes us with a direct request from the democratically elected government of Iraq to assist in containing a terrorist group operating within their border, which has lost their humanity, to assist in the provision of vital humanitarian aid. This is urgent. With every passing day, ISIL operates in the open, spreading the cancer of their barbarism in taking new territory. They are bent on establishing a state which would be governed by perverse beliefs that treat women and religious minorities as subhuman. And with every town they take, with every new base they establish, they attract more finances to their cause and seduce disaffected to their territory with the siren call of a warped caliphate, born out of beheadings and of rape. Our allies have recognized this threat to this terrorist group poses not only to the people of the nations affected by their current advance, but to our democracies. In a threat delivered via social media, ISIL asked supporters, O Mujahideen in Europe, America, Australia, and Canada, O patrons of Islamic State, O you who consider yourselves amongst its soldiers and patrons, if you are not able to find an IED or a bullet, then single out the disbelieving American, Frenchman, or any of their allies, smash his head with a rock, or slaughter him with a knife, or run him over with your car, or throw him from a high place, or choke him or poison him. Do not lack, do not be contemptible. Let your slogan be, may I not be saved if the cross worshipper and ruler ruling by man-made laws survives.
The Honourable Minister of State for Western Diversification has 7 minutes remaining. The Honourable Minister of State.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Yesterday I spoke of the clear danger that is presented by ISIL's advance in the region, and I'd like to speak a little bit today about the threat to our country and to other Western nations. And if colleagues here don't recognize this direct threat to our country, all they have to do is search any social networking tool to find repeated references for the desire to spread ISIL's vile ideology to Canada. I'm deeply concerned that the expansion of ISIL is attracting individuals from the West, including Canadian citizens, to radicalize to the point of violence. Canadians are known to have traveled to conflict zones to participate in terrorism-related activities, including frontline combat, fundraising, operational planning, and disseminating online propaganda. ISIL has been able to bolster its strength by recruiting thousands of foreign fighters, including many from Central Europe and Central Asia. Recent media reporting highlighted the death of Calgarian Farah Mohammed Sirdan and that of Mohammed, who both died fighting for ISIL. As a nation, we have recognized that this expansion of ISIL via the recruitment of foreign workers is a serious issue and have already begun to address it, which is why we co-sponsored UN Security Council Resolution 2178. We have also implemented several key legislative tools, such as the Combating Terrorism Act, which created new offences for leaving or attempting to leave Canada to commit certain terrorism offences. The Strengthening Canadian Citizenship Act, now law, allows for the revocation of Canadian citizenship from dual Canadian citizens if they are convicted of terrorist offences. However, as the democratically elected government of Iraq has recognized via its request for assistance in containing the expansion of ISIL, if ISIL is allowed to operate in the open with its expansion of territory left unchecked, we and our allies have ignored the true source of aggression to our collective borders. This is why, after careful consideration, our government has put forward the motion in front of us today. I would be remiss if I didn't discuss the treatment of women under the ideology of ISIL as part of the case to support this motion. A report listed by the United Nations outlines the alarming atrocities committed by ISIL. Through their actions, they have embedded a view of women as subhuman to their ideology. Hundreds of women and girls have been sold as sex slaves by ISIL in a bid to tempt buyers to join their ranks. They have been given to ISIL or trafficked for sale at markets. Women with professional careers have also been targeted and executed. In one example, ISIL publicly killed a female human rights lawyer in Mosul after their self-styled Islamic court ruled that she had abandoned Islam. Samira Salah al-Nuami was seized from her home on September 17th after allegedly posting messages on Facebook that were critical of the militants' destruction of religious sites in Mosul. According to the United Nations Assistance Mission in Iraq, al-Nuami was tried in a so-called Shara court for apostasy, after which she was tortured for 5 days before militants sentenced her to public execution. There have also been reports that ISIL planned to make 4 million women and girls undergo female genital mutilation in the Mosul area. This is, of course, on top of the thousands of cases of rape, innumerable instances of forced marriage, and the complete removal of equal rights of women to receive education, participate in the economy, and in politics. ISIL's treatment of women goes well beyond any concept of misogyny that we're accustomed to fighting against in Western culture. Given that this group has been able to attract fighters from Western nations and clearly has sympathizers residing therein, it poses a threat to the ability of women to have equality in free society around the world. That said, I'm not afraid of these cowards who see women as subspecies with little value over being a necessary nuisance in procreation or chattel to be raped and traded to the ignorance that fight for their cause. This is because our nation's anthem has never rung hollow. Our brave men and women have always stood on guard for thee against threats to our country and to its people. This motion presents a clear and defined response from Canada to the threat ISIL presents to the global community. We will continue the deployment of up to 26 CAF personnel to advise Iraq's security forces with no ground combat mission. We will coordinate with our allies to participate in airstrikes against ISIL with the goal of limiting ISIL's ability to operate in the open and prevent its continued expansion of territory. In doing so, we will contribute 1 air-to-air refueling aircraft, 2 Aurora surveillance aircraft, and the necessary crews and support personnel. The above will be for a period of 6 months. Mr. Speaker, we are ready and capable to take on this challenge. Our investments, as articulated in the Canada First Defence Strategy, are building a modern, first-class military ready to face the challenges of our generation. The government has steadily been delivering upon this plan, providing our men and women in uniform with the equipment that has made a positive difference in the way that they operate. We will seek to prevent the flow of funding and financing to ISIL and work to halt the flow of foreign fighters to Iraq and to Syria and provide diplomatic support to help Iraq towards a religiously and ethnically inclusive government, Mr. Speaker. In supporting this government, our motion shows that Canadians as a parliament that we accept, unless confronted with strong and direct force, the threat ISIL poses to the international peace and security will continue to grow. By supporting this motion today, we show Canadians that we understand the depth of the atrocities committed by this terrorist organization, and we show Canadians that we support Iraqi leaders in undertaking a concerted effort to confront ISIL's barbaric advance and to mend sectarian divisions that threaten Iraq's long-term security. We show Canadians that as representatives of their voices, we are prepared to stand with our allies who have committed to containing this threat. And we show Canadians that we support a clearly defined combat mission for which we are capable of delivering, coupled with humanitarian assistance for the region. And by supporting this motion, Mr. Speaker, we show Canadians that we are willing to act, not obfuscate, while ISIL flourishes.